Welcome to Stories Junction. Let's get started with today's story. I hadn't intended to show up at that gathering. Clara had described it as a casual meetup with colleagues, nothing extravagant. I'd mentioned I might swing by if I could beat the rush hour, and she'd chuckled over the call. You at a social event? You despise crowds. She had a point. I did. Noisy, packed, folks faking enjoyment. But that evening, enjoyment wasn't my goal. The venue was on the 15th floor of a sleek hotel in Chicago's Loop District. Even from the elevator, her laughter floated through, that polished, attention-seeking vibe she adopted. I hung back by the lounge, observing. She was stunning, naturally. Red gown, hair swept back just how I preferred, yet her grin was directed elsewhere. His name was Damian. I'd pieced that together already, from messages, bills, and that scribbled message. Damian had jotted it on a bar coaster a month prior. No need to fake it. Your spouse isn't coming. I'd stumbled upon it in her bag while hunting for wallet. Tonight, I had that same coaster tucked in my coat, crisply folded as a server glided by. I pressed it into his palm. Hand this to the woman in the red gown, I murmured. He bobbed his head, oblivious to the grenade he held. Over on the balcony, he paused at their spot, beamed, and placed the note before her. Clara peeked at it, mid-chuckle at Damian's quip. She unfolded it, anticipating a tease or jest. Her mirth cut short. Her expression crumbled. Eyes wide, she scanned the room. I rose and approached. The atmosphere tensed. Guests picked up on it. She breathed, Ethan. But I interjected softly. Let's step out. I left her seated, the note splayed open, Damian's script damning him. 3 weeks earlier, our life appeared ordinary to outsiders. Clara and I were typical partners juggling expenses, schedules, and fragmented chats. Arguments were rare now, but so was real connection. She claimed late shifts frequently. It began subtly. A Wednesday evening, her text, gridlock's insane. Don't bother rushing for supper. I glanced at my app, roads clear end to end. A knot formed in my stomach then. I didn't confront, just replied fine. And held my tongue. Days later, a charge popped on our shared card for a boutique inn, not her company's. She brushed it off as a business mixer, but her firm's online agenda listed zilch that date. I tucked that away. The next Monday, I bumped into Mike from my team. He offhandedly noted spotting Clara at the Apex Lounge atop the Vista Hotel, giggling with a guy. Didn't realize she was in our field, he added. I masked my reaction. Yeah, she's unpredictable. That night, I awaited her mention of it. Silence. She arrived tardy, with a whiff of cologne not mine. Still, I stayed mute. No point pursuing shadows sans evidence. Lies flow easier when they think you're oblivious to SO, I observed. Scanned accounts. Noted her fresh lock code, how she angled her device during texts. Anger didn't hit, caution did. When she announced another office bash, I said I'd drop in post my shift. Her demeanor flickered, just a beat. No need, she hurried. It's dull. That's when certainty struck. Once the doubt hardened into certainty, I stopped wondering and started hunting. It wasn't rage driving me anymore, it was the cold need to know exactly how deep the lie went. A few nights after Clara's no need to come warning, Mike showed up at my office door looking like he'd swallowed something sour. Ethan, about that night at the Vista. I wasn't gonna say anything else, but I saw the same guy again yesterday. Tall, dark hair, silver Audi with those stupid vanity plates, Dart. He and Clara were leaving together. I'm sorry, man. I thanked him, told him it was fine, and closed the door. Damian Hart. The name lit up the last missing piece. That evening I opened the old shared cloud account we'd abandoned years ago when she switched to her work-only phone. One unread hotel reservation confirmation from 2 months back. Clara plus Damian Hart, Junior Suite, Vista Hotel, paid on our card. Subject line, can't wait for Thursday's. I stared at the little heart emoji longer than I stared at anything else. It looked so small, so harmless, and it gutted me. The following Saturday she announced a team strategy dinner downtown. I kissed her cheek like everything was normal and said I'd be working late. Instead, I drove to the Vista, parked 2 blocks away, and took the service stairs to the rooftop lounge I now knew by heart. The air was warm, city lights smearing gold across the glass railings. She was impossible to miss, center table, head thrown back laughing, red nails brushing Damian's sleeve every time she spoke. He leaned in, whispered something, and she let him kiss her neck right there in front of 20 colleagues who pretended not to notice. I stood in the shadows long enough to memorize the way she closed her eyes when his lips touched her skin, like she belonged there. Then I left before the bile in my throat turned into something louder. On the drive home, I stopped at a 24-hour print shop. Hotel receipts, cloud screenshots, the coaster note, the heart emoji confirmation. Everything went into a neat folder. I slid the original coaster into a plastic sleeve like evidence. Because that's what it was now. The night of the big networking party, the one she'd been buzzing about for weeks, was only 4 days away. She spent hours picking the venue, the new Sky Terrace at the Langham, curating the guest list, trying on dresses in front of me and asking which one made her look powerful but approachable. I told her the red one was perfect. She beamed. She had no idea I'd already RSVP'd for myself under a +1 she never added. I arrived 20 minutes after the official start, slipped in through the side entrance, and took a spot near the bar where the shadows were deep and the view was perfect. Damian was already glued to her side, hand resting on the small of her back like it had earned the right. I waited until the waiter did his next lap, pressed the folded coaster and a 20 into his hand, and pointed. For the lady in the red dress. From an admirer. Then I stepped forward into the light. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded it. I watched every ounce of color leave her face when she recognized Damian's handwriting, and realized whose eyes were locked on hers across the terrace. She whispered my name like a prayer and a curse in one breath that I didn't answer. I simply turned and walked toward the elevator, letting the crowd part like they already knew a storm was passing through. Behind me, I heard the scrape of her chair, the frantic click of heels chasing me across marble. Ethan, wait. The elevator doors were already closing. But they wouldn't save her this time. She's caught. He's watching. And the night is only beginning. The elevator dropped 15 floors in silence. When the doors slid open to the underground garage, the air was cool and smelled of oil and concrete. My footsteps echoed like a countdown. Then I heard her heels, sharp, desperate, stumbling over the speed bumps.
Ethan. I didn't slow down.
I reached my car, keys already in hand, when her voice cracked behind me. Ethan, please.
Stop. I turned.
She was 20 feet away under the sickly yellow lights, clutching that ridiculous red evening purse like a life vest. Mascara had started its slow descent down her cheeks. It's not what you think, she said, breathless that I almost laughed. You have no idea what I think.
She took a step closer.
Damian and I, it was stupid. Drinks after work that went too far. I was going to end it tonight, I swear.
End it.
I pulled the plastic sleeve coaster from my inside pocket and held it up between two fingers. This says you ended it weeks ago, right after you booked the junior suite with our credit card. Or was that just round one?
Her mouth opened, closed.
No sound came out. I took one step toward her. You lied about traffic when the roads were empty. You lied about client dinners when your calendar was blank. You lied when you came home smelling like his cologne and told me it was a new perfume you were trying. I gave you every chance to tell me the truth, Clara. Every single night you crawled into our bed, you chose the lie again. Tears now, real ones, spilling fast. I was lonely. You were always working, always tired. Don't. My voice was quiet, but it stopped her cold.
Don't put this on me.
I was paying for the life you said you wanted. You were the one sneaking out to feel wanted by a man who wrote love notes on bar coasters. She dropped to her knees right there on the oily concrete, red dress pooling around her like spilled wine.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'll do anything. Therapy, whatever you want. Please don't throw us away. I looked down at her for a long moment. The woman I'd loved for 8 years was on the ground begging, and I felt nothing.
Not triumph. Not pity.
Just the hollow ring of finality. Get up, I said. She scrambled to her feet, hope flaring in her eyes. You're going to your sister Lauren's tonight, I continued. Pack a bag tomorrow when I'm at work. Anything you leave behind gets donated. We'll talk through lawyers from now on. Ethan, no, I opened the car door. You don't get to say my name like it still belongs to you. I slid behind the wheel. She lunged forward, palms slapping the window as I pulled away. In the rearview mirror, I watched her shrink, red dress glowing under the garage lights, arms wrapped around herself like she might fall apart. She didn't follow me home.
She couldn't.
I'd already changed the locks that afternoon. But the story isn't over. The house the next morning was too quiet, like someone had turned the volume down on 8 years of shared life. Her coffee mug was still in the drying rack. I left it there. I left everything exactly where it was, a museum of the day before the bomb went off. Lauren texted at noon, she's here. She hasn't stopped crying. I replied, that's not my problem anymore. The divorce machinery started the same week. No children, no mortgage fight, just assets split down the middle like a corpse on an autopsy table. Clara signed everything without contesting a single line. She even waived spousal support. The mediator told me later she looked like she was attending her own funeral. Word travels fast in downtown Chicago circles. By the time the decree was final, Damian Hart had vanished from LinkedIn, his company bio scrubbed, his phone disconnected. Rumor said his wife found the same receipts I did. He lost the Audi, the corner office, and whatever fantasy he thought he was building with my wife. Clara lost more. She quit her job before they could fire her. Clients don't like being pitched by the woman everyone whispers about. She moved into a studio the size of our old walk-in closet and stopped answering most calls. 3 months after the judge's gavel, an envelope appeared in my new mailbox. No return address, just my name in her careful handwriting. Inside was a single sheet and a small moleskine notebook. Ethan, I won't ask you to read this.
I know you won't.
But I have to write it anyway. Every day I sit in therapy and say the same thing. I destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me because I wanted to feel young and chaste again. You never stopped loving me. I just stopped letting you. The notebook is everything I never said out loud. Burn it, trash it, whatever you need. I just needed it to exist outside my head for once. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even deserve it. I'm sorry isn't big enough, but it's all I have left. Clara. I opened the notebook under the kitchen light. Page after page of dates, confessions, self-loathing sharp enough to cut. One entry stopped me cold. March 14th he kissed me in the elevator and I closed my eyes and pretended it was you. I hated myself the second his lips touched mine. Why wasn't hating myself enough to stop? Another page, written the night of the rooftop party. I saw you walk away and something inside me died. I chased you in heels across a garage floor and begged like a stranger. You looked at me like I was already a ghost. You were right. I read until 3 a.m., then carried the notebook to the balcony overlooking the river.
The city was asleep.
I thought about lighting it on fire, watching 8 years curl into ash. Instead I closed it, slipped it into a drawer, and locked the drawer. Some punishments you don't need to invent. Living with the truth is already brutal enough. Almost a year later on an ordinary Tuesday, I ran into her at the Jewelosco on Division Street. She was thinner, hair chopped to her shoulders, no makeup, holding a single peach like it might bruise if she breathed wrong. She saw me first.
Ethan. Clara.
We stood between the avocados and the bananas while strangers pushed carts around us. You look good, she said, voice barely above the hum of the freezers. You too.
An awkward silence.
Then, quietly, I'm getting there.
Therapy helps. A lot.
I'm glad. She gave the smallest, saddest smile I'd ever seen. I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know I'm trying to become someone who would never do what I did.
I nodded once. Take care, Clara.
I walked away with my basket. She didn't call after me. But one final piece remains. 2 years slid by like water under the Michigan Avenue bridges. I sold the condo, bought a small place in West Loop with windows that actually opened, and learned the difference between being alone and being lonely. Most nights I ran along the river path, earbuds in, city lights flickering on the water like they were trying to spell something I no longer needed to read. Then one Thursday in late October, the doorman buzzed up, package for me, no sender name. Inside was a plain white box. I knew the handwriting on the card before I even opened it. Ethan, I'm getting married next month. His name is Paul. He knows everything, every ugly detail, and loves me anyway. I needed you to hear it from me first, not through Lauren or the stray LinkedIn update. I'm not asking permission or absolution. I just didn't want you to stumble across it and feel ambushed again. The thing I'm returning was never really mine to keep. Inside the tissue paper lay the spare key to our old house, the one I'd changed the locks on the night everything ended. It was attached to the little red enamel heart keychain I'd given her on our third date. She'd sworn she lost it years ago. On the back of the card, one more line in smaller writing. I finally understand the weight you carried that night in the garage. Thank you for never throwing it back at me harder than I deserved. I stood in the kitchen holding that key for a long time. The enamel heart had chipped in one place, a tiny scar shaped like the truth that I didn't feel anger.
I didn't feel loss.
I felt, finished. I walked to the river just after sunset, the sky bleeding orange into the water. With no ceremony, no speech, I threw the key as far as I could. It arced once, glinting, then disappeared without a sound. Somewhere downstream it settled into the silt alongside receipts, coasters, lies, and every other piece of evidence we once thought mattered. People ask if I ever think about her.
Of course I do.
Memory doesn't file for divorce. But thinking about someone and wanting them back are two different countries, and I no longer have a passport for the second one. The story didn't end with screaming or slammed doors or even that quiet grocery store nod. It ended the moment the key hit the water and kept sinking, the way truth always does when you finally stop trying to hold it up to the light. I walked home through the cool October air, hands in my pockets, city loud around me, and for the first time in years I didn't check my phone to see if anyone was looking for me. Some chapters close themselves. This one just needed the river to carry away the last page.